Good morning. How are we?
Come on, man. We're 1 minute late. That's very
Did
bold.
you miss us last Thursday?
Yeah, we had a day off. No, we had a bit of a... No, well, the truth, what happened was there was nothing urgent, but what happened was it was just one of those days. There was so many things happening and we were trying to work it all out. And in the end, we just said, we're just going to have to let that go because we had a few appointments to make. So
and I'm fully vaccinated now.
Oh, Pat was sick, but we won't go there.
It's not like talking stuff.
That's me on Thursday.
Shannon's getting fully vaccinated.
Please pray for me because I'm a little bit worried about it after seeing the station, Pat.
No, that's a bit strong, isn't it?
Yeah, but still, I was a little bit worried.
Well, yeah, I didn't complain.
Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. The weather is superbly well out there.
Yeah. We look a little bit like we've just been out for a walk and a run.
Yeah, no,
so we're
it's all good. No, we're good.
Straight out the shower.
Well, I want to talk to you about a really, really important subject.
Is not every subject in the Word of God an important subject, Patrick?
I think sometimes, every subject is important in the scriptures, but for me anyway, I'm going to talk about my own personal thing here. For me, this subject changed my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
So, put up the verse there.
Assistante scripture.
Assistante.
We're doing Proverbs 10, verse 17. Yeah. I love Proverbs. I read it. They're really, you can pick up the Proverbs and read like a couple of verses, bang, and you get loads out of it. I love it. This is the NIV version. Again, it's a verse you all know. Whoever heeds discipline shows the way to life, but whoever ignores correction leads others astray. So to simplify that, we're going to have what translation? The Passion. If you readily receive correction, you are walking on the path to life. But if you reject rebuke, you are guaranteed to go astray. That's quite strong. You're guaranteed to go astray.
Yeah,
do you want my third translation? Yeah. This morning we have three. The Assistante has been busy. And we have the Voice translation. Not one I normally use, but sometimes it does pull up some good translations. So some good...
Translation.
Translate, you know what I mean. Those who accept instruction are travelers on the road to a meaningful life. Who doesn't want a meaningful life?
Amen.
So to be a traveler on the road to the meaningful life, you need to accept instruction. But those who refuse correction wander off, and pave a path to ruin. That's
let me just say this, right? Let me just say this to begin with, right? God has placed in the earth his law, right? He governs everything by his law. So the earth runs according to the law of God, right? And God has put his law in the earth that we may obey it in order for God to protect us. Right, let me give you an example. People say, well, you can't drink, you can't smoke, you can't this, you can't that. It's obviously a big can't, right? But if you drink too much, you end up with liver problems. If you smoke too much, you end up with cancer.
It's not a healthy thing to do.
It's not a healthy thing to do. So you end up with all these issues, and God is trying to. So most people hone in on that word correction or rebuke. Do. You know what I mean? They hone in.
I remember when I was doing Sunday school class, I always shared this really quickly, and I remember asking the kids, I said, why did God give us the 10 commandments? People think it was like to control us, and they had all these different ideas and different thoughts about it. But God gave us the 10 commandments to protect us. And when I talked about it, I said, what you don't realize is if we didn't have those commandments and everybody did all those things, if everybody was murdering and stealing and lying, we'd be living in a very different way. So it was to protect us, like a parent protects us.
Well, here's the deal, right? God has put all that there, right? But the responsibility lies with me.
Yeah.
Let me explain this to you.
Okay.
Right? So in other words, God can say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, do this, do this, do this, right? But it's down to what I choose to do.
Yeah, you have a choice.
So that's what exactly. So I want to talk today about choices. So at the end of the day, you can read the scriptures till you come here to the end of eternity. But we don't choose to obey it or even take note of it or apply it. Well, then it's just good words. So what I want to explain today is certain choices bring you to a certain destiny. If you read the translation, it seems the passion is to a meaningful life, right? I'm really, let's say,
it's this one, it was the Voice.
Those who accept instruction are travelers on the road to a meaningful life. So let me just change that. Those who obey or make the right decision are travelers on the road to a meaningful life. Everything God has presented in the scriptures is down to my choice, whether I obey it or whether I apply it. Go ahead, then.
You know when it says that? No, because it's quite interesting. Like we have the kids, and you look at the kids, and those who accept instruction,
Yeah.
Okay. It's like when the kids are in school and I'm saying you have to learn, you have to study, because it's to lead them into the fullness of what they want from their lives. So, you say to the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they have all these big ideas, but you have to accept instruction. You have to learn. You have to be taught. You have to be directed. You have to be obedient. You have to be in submission and learning, because you might have the desire to be something, but desire to be something is not enough. We have to have the obedience and the submission and the cooperation in order to make that come to pass.
Well, let me just give you a simple example. When I was 15 years of age, right, I played football, soccer, won a cup, had good potential. People said I had great potential, all the rest, right? But at the age of 15, I made a choice to stop going training, to stop playing football, and I chose to do other things that really led me on the path of not a meaningful life.
But you wanted to be that. You see, that's what we don't get. We're like, but I wanted that. And then people say things like, why did God not give me the desires of my heart? Why did God not make you a great footballer? You made different choices. You chose a different path. You chose to do what you wanted to do. And it altered the direction of your life. You had the potential. You had the desire, but you didn't have the obedience.
Yeah, and the same as when I was in school doing my junior cert, I decided to start working very hard 6 weeks out from the gym school, right, when I was a kid, right, 15, right? And the art teacher, I remember coming to me and she said to me, why didn't you do this for 3 years?
Yeah, it's too late.
And she said, that's what she says, Pat, it's a bit late now.
Yeah.
So I look back and think, okay, I left school at 15. If I had listened to what she had said and made the right decision for 3 years, I probably would have had a different path, a different life. Because God cannot force you to make the right choice.
But this verse addresses our perspective of instruction.
Absolutely.
And Proverbs, quite often people call it the book of wisdom. It's called the book of wisdom. So there's a wisdom in submitting to instruction and to authority. So what we need to do this morning as we look at this verse is address our perspective, address how we perceive instruction, direction, and even rebuke. That verse talks about rebuke, doesn't it? It says if you reject rebuke or ignore correction. And we have a very negative, I find that with the girls. Sometimes I'll say to the girls, I might correct them and they go, you're being so critical. I'm like, I'm not being critical. I'm being constructive. I'm your mom and I want the best for you. And, I just see it a lot as a parent. And I say to them, you need to alter, your perception of how I'm speaking. I'm speaking to you in a positive manner, but I am correcting you. And it's okay to be corrected.
Absolutely. I don't want to correct.
We assume, but you're very good at this. Pat's much better at this. I have to give you props there. No, Pat is great at taking correction. But I would struggle a lot with it because we assume that when somebody corrects us, it's critical. We assume that it's saying that we're wrong. But it's not saying that we're wrong. It's saying that we need to just move a little bit to the left or move a little bit to the right. And I think God's correction, it can hurt. And it can be, it can hurt. Like sometimes,
it's for your own good.
Yeah, it is always for our own good because we trust his nature and his character. So what I'm saying is when I'm dealing with the kids, I said it actually to one of the kids yesterday, I said, I'm your mom. I love you. I would never say anything to tear down your character or to stop you living life to the fullness. It's actually quite the opposite. And it's like you're saying in school, when you look back on school, you can rebel against it and kick against it and you can criticize it and all that. But they are the ones that can enable you to fulfill your potential. And that's what they're there for. That's what they're getting paid for. They're getting paid to teach you so that you will fulfill your potential. So it's our perspective of rebuke.
So when I got saved, right, I realized I got a second chance here, right? So I'm in Bible school, right? And the director of the college comes on to me one day and says, you need to change a few things here, right? So I thought, really? She said, because God has his hand in your life. But this is what she said. She says, you need to make a decision to go to Belgium and do your degree.
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday.
And I walked away thinking, but when I walked away, this is what I remember. She doesn't get extra pay for saying that to me.
No benefit to them.
She doesn't get brownie points. She doesn't get brownie points from heaven even, right? She's doing that because she cares about me. And I thank the Lord for that lady. Because she had the guts to tell me to stop doing certain things and get into study harder. And she's going to have to study harder. And then I arrived in Belgium. And that choice changed my destiny, my whole destiny in my life. That simple decision, listening to what she was saying. And I walked out, I was a bit upset, but then when I realized she's doing it for my own benefit, I realized, if I start making right choices, where will I land? Where will I arrive? How will God use me? All these things. And I thank God. I thank God I made the right decision. The right choice brings you to a meaningful life.
And at the end of the day, we want a meaningful life, don't we? We don't want just a useless existence. We don't just want to exist. We want to. It reminds me of that song by the new one, about the guy who was ill. What is it? I'm going to live. What is it?
Yeah,
I'm going to know what. No, I'm going to know what it means to live, not just be alive. Not Casting Crowns. Anyway, but I'm going to know what it means to live and not just be alive. And that means about having a meaningful life, a meaningful full life. Mercy me. But it's so important. Jesus came to give us life and life abundantly. Yes. And I really think, I really, really think sometimes we don't realize how much we lose out by refusing to accept the instruction of God. And I know sometimes it's difficult, and I know sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like you say, going to Belgium, you think, well, what difference is that going to make? I can do that here. But it made a huge, huge, huge difference to your life. So what I would say is this, and I've learned this over the years in my own life, and I've certainly learned it through ministry. Every single choice we make has a long-term impact. Isn't there a quote? And it says, while I can remember, it says, show me a choice and I'll show you a direction.
That's very good. Well, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
We don't get away with it.
No. You do
so
the hard
whatever
way now,
choice we make, it comes some way. So I always say this to my girls. If you work hard, you get there. If you don't work hard, that's where you get. So either way, it's going to cost you. So going God's way will cost you, but it will be meaningful.
But there's a guarantee in that.
Absolutely.
You see, there's a guarantee with God. There's a promise in God. There's a promise that He will bring the fruit into our lives. We will have that meaningful life. We will have. We will walk the road, the path to a meaningful life. And I think in God we have the guarantees. So we need to embrace it. We need to walk with it. We need to take it. And I really would say to you this morning, though, one thing: every single choice has an impact.
It's huge.
Has a massive, massive impact. And it can determine whether we go on a meaningful life or if we end up going astray, like that scripture says. And this morning, the heart of God for you is for you to have a meaningful life. Jesus came, He paid that huge sacrifice so that you would have life now. He wants you to live a meaningful life now, and He puts such a great value on that, and it's our obligation to partner with Him in that and to grow in that and to really embrace that meaningful life, embrace the correction, embrace the rebuke of God, because it's always done in love and grace and compassion. God never rebukes us and casts us aside. He rebukes us and holds us close and loves us and teaches us and shows us the way to go.
Absolutely.
And God just wants us to have that full life.
Let me just say this, right? I love Bear Grylls, right? I love him, right? He for me is that the right epitome? Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Of life. He loves
it to the
he
full.
Embraces it. He
to the point that he's a bit irritating.
Yeah, it's huge. To me, he's my hero, right? And when Bear Grylls was 23, he fell out of a helicopter and broke his back.
Good story,
right? And he lay in his bed and he put a poster of Everest in front of him, and every day he'd look and say, one day I'm going to climb you. And his mate came in one day and said, Barry, you snap out, you might never walk it. And he turned around and says, well, let me tell you something, I'm going to climb Everest, right?
Yeah, fair play.
And he chose to get out of bed, and at 23, 24, he climbed the summit of Everest. Like, seriously. Why? It all began, now let me just finish this. It all began with a choice in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That led to a physical reaction to that choice in there. Let me just say this, your mind is so powerful that you can either choose negative thoughts or good thoughts. Paul says, wherever's good, wherever's pleasing, meditate upon those things. Why? Because as you meditate on them, you start to act them out. And friend, I want to encourage you, Sean says, John 10:10, Jesus said, I've come to give you life and life abundantly. But the abundant life is not waiting on God to come and put it on your lap. The abundant life is making the right choices every single day that you walk in the abundance of life.
Oh, the dogs are going to go mad.
So on that note, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you all.
Choose God's way today. Choose God's way today. It's an absolute choice for you. It's a choice, and you can do it. You can choose God's way. So God bless you all. I'm going to go sort out the dogs.
Take care. Bless you all.
Have a great day. God bless you.